DSD Kane, when are you going to make that ending into the Benny on the Beat theme song? I, for one, would endorse that. Of course, it's been said I have no taste. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Benny on the Beat.
You suck!
Ah, whatever. That was like a solid B- at least. What's up, guys? Welcome to this episode of Benny on the Beat. I will apologize immediately, right off the bat, for this shirt. The very first time I wore this shirt and recorded a video, everybody said my camera kept trying to zoom in on the design and it made it look like it was like an optical illusion. Is it doing it now? How do you like that, huh? I'm trying to see if it's doing it right now. It's hard to tell on my screen whether it's doing it or not. If it is, sorry, I'll just like never wear it again. Actually, I probably will. I wear whatever the freak I want, okay? All right, a couple of things, guys. Really quick. Very important pieces of news. Number one, we had a comment from Nathan Buenaventura. Mamma mia, mamma mia. So Nathan said, I'm excited for the new car tour. This has come up a lot. We've had a lot of people ask, so I'm just going to tell you guys right off the bat, yes, I got a new car. I have a new police car. It is a Ford. I haven't revealed to everybody what it is yet. Unless you're a Patreon subscriber, you already know. And yes, I am doing a car tour video for the general YouTube channel for everybody that's not a Patreon sub. I had hoped to have it done by now, but some things came up. I'll talk about that. But it's going to be the next video after this one. It is going to be the next one I plan on doing. So what's been going on? The biggest update for you guys is I'm going to be taken out of commission for like a whole week because Grandpa Fuzz passed away. Here's actually a picture of him wearing my grandma's wig. I wonder where I get my weirdness from. Obviously, it's genetic. And I mention him because he has a lot to do with why I became a police officer. My grandpa was an FBI agent. He was a Fed. And I was always very interested in his stories about his job as an FBI agent. I actually wanted to be an FBI agent for a long time. Partly on account of him and partly on account of watching the X-Files. I really wanted to be Mulder. I looked like the coolest job in the world. Till that kind of developed into my desire to become a local police officer, which is what I did. So anyway, there's lots of stories about him. He was a super cool guy, an amazing person. But we are getting ready to go out of town for almost a week to go have his funeral and spend some time together as a family in remembrance of him. So because of that, I'm gonna be gone longer than I had planned on, and it's gonna make it harder to get some of these videos out. And I know I don't need to apologize for that. I know you guys understand. You're very supportive of that. When we get back, that'll be the first video I start to work on, is the police car tour video. All right, so we did have a few comments from the last video. As always, I want to take a look at those and keep interacting with you guys. We'll make this pretty quick and then get into kind of a shorter recap of some of my calls for service and call this video good. Dennis the Menace, so you have a 1042 at specific 1036, 10-4, and go 1022. Okay, all right, whatever you say, Dennis. 10 codes are different everywhere in the country. That one made no sense, but I'm guessing you just picked a few random ones. Betsy Ballard, what's up, Betsy? Hi, love the channel. Question, do you know the fastest speed you've ever driven, and have you been in a car chase before? No, never been in a car chase, Betsy, and I don't recall the fastest I've ever driven. I think I've been over 100 miles an hour like 1 or 2 times in my whole career. I don't like to drive that fast. It's dangerous. Steven309, I think you're super. Thank you, Steven. I think you're super. I like your style, man. I like your moves. Richard Wheeler, hey Officer Fuzz, did you get new cones to go with the new car since yours were involved in a hit and run with a white SUV a while back? That's right. You guys remember that? The poor cones, the poor cones. No, I don't get new cones. I've had to deal with the defaced, disgraced cones that were permanently injured as a result of that incident. Jesse A, hey Fuzz, do criminals laugh when they see you roll up? What? I find it difficult to believe you could be a threatening authority figure. Why? Why? Because I dress so pimp on the YouTube videos and I've got a nice smile? Well, all of that may be true, and I understand where the question's coming from. Suffice it to say, when you go to work, you've got to turn on that work mode, put that hat on, and take care of business, which is exactly what I do. You better believe that's what I do. Look me in the eye, Jesse. Look me in the eye right now. I'm telling you. I don't mess around at work. If people need to be taken care of, people need to be told where to go, where to sit, what to do, Fuzz has no problem doing it. Right in the eye. Right in the eye. I can tell you know I mean business when you look me in the eye. Colby Cortis, Ben, do the fire departments where you patrol have fire police? And if so, who has priority on securing the scene? Colby, it's a good question. Yeah, and actually now that you ask and I think about it, our fire does have investigators. Our fire departments have investigators that are duly sworn police officers. God, both roles. How would that be? Imagine I keep my job as a cop and I've got all the authority of a police officer, but I can like take all the benefits, which or many of being a firefighter. I could actually get through all the seasons of Game of Thrones. Not to mention getting paid to work out on duty and doing something about this fuzzbod. That would be fantastic. But in answer to your question, Colby, it really depends on the circumstance. It could be something where we usually secure the scene depending on what it is. Could be them. I think it's usually gonna be the local patrol guys like me. Vadim, Baymax could not heal the Impala. That is a fact. You could try, Baymax, but you would suck and you would fail.
Oh no.
Cookie Wookie, I got a question I hope makes it onto the next patrol vlog. Congratulations, Cookie Wookie. Have you ever had a ride-along with you? Hey, Cookie, we're gonna talk about that today. I actually had a ride-along with me for some of the calls we're gonna talk about. But give us ride-along stories. I only have one that comes to mind just really quick, and I've told the story before when I talked about the taser incidents that I've had. I had the guy that broke out my back window and got out and ran down the street. Was that the last video or 2 videos ago? Anyway, when I was on that call, I had my sister come along with me for a ride along, and she had just got into the front passenger seat right before that happened. So she was like right brand new in the car, first ride along ever, excited and scared all at the same time, right when my bad guy breaks out the window and he runs. Probably the most memorable ride-along experience I've ever had. Josh, what rank are you, and would you ever become an FTO? I have been an FTO, Josh. I've done that for a few years. I've actually done it enough that I don't really have any desire to continue doing it. Done it, been there, done that type thing. As far as rank, I'm just a patrolman. I'm the highest level as far as the pay scale of patrolman in my department. Beyond that, it becomes a supervisory thing where you become a sergeant, lieutenant, captain, you work your way up the ranks. But I'm as far as you go as a police officer, if that makes sense. All right, I'm gonna cut it off there so we can get to the recap of the patrol week, and I appreciate the comments and questions. Keep that coming. I love interacting with you guys and getting to a few of those with each video. And really quick before we jump into the recap of the calls this week, we want to thank our show sponsor for today's video. We have a legitimate one. It's a real one. I know I always trip you guys up on whether it's gonna be a real sponsor or not. But today's video is sponsored by Galls.com. If you've been here for a while, you know that these guys have been super supportive of our channel. But if you happen to be new here or you've never heard of Galls, they are the main internet platform where you can find anything equipment-wise that you need for this profession: firefighter, EMS, first responder, postal, and military. Their website is super easy to navigate. You can even go to it by profession. You can find everything from pins and notepads all the way up to light bars, siren control boxes, and all the equipment you need for emergency vehicles. The only thing I haven't figured out yet is when I go to the firefighter one, I can't find like Xbox controllers and seasons of movies, things like that. The only thing I can see that they're missing is some of that essential firefighter equipment, but for the most part, just absolutely fantastic. And when you go to purchase something, remember to use our discount code FuzzFam for an additional 15% off. We've had people that have confirmed using that, and it has saved them a lot of money. A lot of money, like 15% a lot.
Holy mackerel!
All right, so the first call I want to tell you guys about was a few days ago. I had a ride-along with me on this shift. A super cool guy. He's a retired sheriff's deputy out of, I think, Orange County in California. He had just retired a month earlier. He was one of their chief pilots in the aviation unit, which was super cool because that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted to do. So anyway, we had a lot to talk about with helicopters and stuff like that. The only reason he was on a ride-along was he was in town for something with his wife's job, had nothing to do for the night because she was doing her stuff, and rather than sit in the hotel room, he thought it'd be fun to go out and do a ride-along. So anyway, we're cruising down this road, and we're driving by a cross street, and all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, my peripheral vision, I almost didn't even notice it, but there was a bike laying in the road on the ground, and cars were starting to stop that were in the northbound lanes because we were still southbound. I noticed next to the bike, a few feet from it, was a woman laying in the road. My first thought was, crap, she's been hit by a car. So we flip around, turn on the light, start doing some traffic control, get out and run up to the scene where there's some people standing around her, and I'm looking for the other car that was involved in this because I still thought it was a car that hit her. And my ride-along was super helpful because he was so recently retired, even though he was a helicopter pilot for most of his career. He got right out and started doing traffic control and getting statements from people and everything like that. So it was kind of like having a partner with me, which was cool. But there was a witness still on scene who saw what happened and was able to tell us that she didn't hit a car or a car didn't hit her. She just crashed on her bike. But apparently she was just flying out of this neighborhood, going way fast, and got towards the bottom where this road was, which is a pretty busy road, and she was going too fast to stop. So the way they described it is she just kind of turned her bike and laid it down and just went flying. She didn't have a helmet on. It's not like you're worried about looking dorky or anything. You're not a kid anymore. Wear your helmet, people. I've been on too many bike accidents where people would have been so much better off if they'd just been wearing a helmet. So she was unconscious. She clearly had a pretty bad head injury. She was bleeding all over the place. Luckily, I work in an area where fire and medical personnel are pretty close, so they got there fast and got her loaded up and headed up to the hospital. Luckily, we got up there where she got into some very good hands and she was stabilized, and they said that she was going to be okay. Most of the time as a police officer, I respond to calls. People have problems, they call dispatch, we go. But every now and then, you're just gonna stumble onto stuff just by nature of being out and about in the city. Then we had a recovered stolen vehicle. So this was a guy that was cleaning out a business or something and noticed there was a Jeep in his parking lot that had been there for a few days. So he called into dispatch and they ran it and confirmed that it was stolen. Pretty common thing. This is like a daily thing in the city that I work. There's always cars being stolen, always cars being recovered. Sometimes the owners are lucky enough to get them back within a day or two, which was the case here. The guy had just lost it a couple days earlier. Sometimes it's a few weeks or months or even longer. So when we go on these, we just want to check the VIN number on the car and make sure it actually matches the plate and that everything looks good, that it is the car that we think it is. From there, we look up the original report on the theft, assuming that it was in our city, and we can see who the owner is, and we want to call them to see if they can come pick up their car. If they can't, we have to have it towed, which we don't like to do because it just adds more of a headache onto the victim. So I was able to get a hold of the guy right away. He was like 45 minutes away, but his son, who drives the car and is in college, was a lot closer. So he was able to call him, and him and a buddy came over, and luckily the keys were still in it. The bad guys had stolen the stereo out of it, but they didn't notice the amp that was under the seat, which is the expensive one. So he was feeling pretty lucky to get everything back, and it even started. Then I had another transient issue call. I don't think a day goes by that we don't have something related to a transient, just because we've got a lot of them. But this one was from a guy that operated an apartment building that was looking on his surveillance system. He wasn't on site, but he was somewhere watching the surveillance system and could see a homeless guy next to the building that he said was trying to pee on the building. Trying to pee on the building. I'm not quite sure. I'm picturing a few different things. Anyway, whatever it was, I guess he wasn't very successful, but the attempt was there that he was trying to pee on his building. I don't know. So we went over there and I couldn't find the guy, which is fine by me. He was gone. Then I got to meet up with a gal and a couple of her friends that wanted to make a report on a guy threatening her via Snapchat. Apparently they'd had a dude over at their apartment that they let stay the night. They woke up in the morning and some things were missing. They had got a hold of him and accused him of it or asked him to return them. He had sent them a Snapchat video and some text, both threatening that he was going to get a gun or that he had a gun and that he was on his way over. I guess because it was Snapchat, he thought it would disappear and that it wouldn't be a big deal. Of course, all you have to do on Snapchat is just use another phone and record it as you open it, so then you've got a recording of it, which is what they did. So we took a report, I gave him a case number, our detectives will work on it. The funny thing about this one, just a side note, is I first talked to the complainant on the phone and she wanted to come down and show me the messages. So she said she was gonna grab her skateboard and head down, and then she stopped herself, like she realized she said something she wasn't supposed to, and said, oh, no, I mean, I'm just kidding. I won't bring my skateboard down there. I don't want to get in any trouble. I'm like, what? Apparently she was concerned that if she had a skateboard in a certain vicinity of the police department, she was going to get arrested or get in trouble.
Objection. Skateboarding is allowed in public areas.
Well, I just thought that doesn't seem like something you should do.
I don't know, maybe it's because I used to skateboard in high school a little bit, and yeah, it was actually really, really good. I'm just kidding, I wasn't any good, but I did try to skate a little bit, so I got nothing against skateboarders. It's a tough sport. Then I got to go over and help a landlord with kind of a suspicious circumstance or an unwanted guest type call. So he was the owner of the building and had problems with one of the tenants he was getting ready to evict. I guess she was inviting homeless people over to the house, and she'd actually given some of them permission to set up a camp behind the house. Sure enough, there was like a tent city set up with a whole couch, living room, TV, food. We talked to the guys, they were pretty decent. They just said, yeah, the gal gave us permission. We had to explain that she didn't have the right to do that, and the owner wanted them to leave, which they said they would pack up and go. No big deal. But I got to talking with the owner because I'm interested in getting into real estate investment. I think I've announced that a few times on a couple videos, and he was really cool. Gave me some advice, told me what he would do if he were starting over, that type of stuff. I got his name and phone number, and he said I could always call him if I ever had any questions. It's all about those connections, that networking, meeting people and stuff. And then we had a vandalism call. This will be the last one I talk about today, but this one was kind of interesting because these guys went out to their driveway and they had a couple vehicles there, and they found, unfortunately, that both of them had been keyed. There was a note left on one of them, and the gas tank lid was open on one of them. They weren't sure if somebody had put something in there or not. But the note was pretty specific and pretty hateful, so I asked what was going on, and apparently this all surrounded an issue with the victim, the lady that was there. Her kid's school put out an announcement that they were putting up a rainbow flag in the church, you know, in support of the LGBTQ. Is there a new letter on there at the end? Apologize, I really don't know. But in support of their community, and a lot of people were not happy about this, but I guess this this lady was the most vocal about it. So of course the best thing to do would be go straight to the school's Facebook page and make it very, very clear how you feel about that, right? Well, that's what she did, and she became the target of all of the hate and the animosity. So not a big surprise that somebody came up there and messed with her stuff. So I don't know. It's certainly not bad to have opinions and to stand up for what you believe and vocalize it. You just might want to think about what you put on social media, and if you're gonna do it anyway, I'd maybe park your cars in the garage just to be safe. All right, guys, with that, I've got to get out of here and just immediately start working on this tribute video for Grandpa Fuzz, because we're going to be at the funeral this week, the week that this video comes out, and I've got to get that done for the family. Busy, 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 busy. But again, I just wanted to let everybody know how much we appreciate you being here. We're glad that you're enjoying this video series. Thank you for being subscribed to the channel and for leaving likes on these videos. All that stuff helps other people find our channel and videos on YouTube. You guys are freaking awesome. We will see you when we get back from this funeral. I'll get that new car tour video done, which I know everybody's waiting for. Until then, everybody have a great week. Peace.
Hey. Let's go. Bet.
Mr. Hawk, how long have you been riding these devil mobiles?
Pretty much my whole life.
Let the record show that Mr. Hawk was carving a pentagram into his chest as he answered.
No, I wasn't.